It is such a beautiful day today. It is sunny and the birds are singing, and hopefully you can hear those birds out here. I've got the windows open. I think it's going to be 72 degrees today, and it's going to be a beautiful day. We spent the weekend in the garden, and I'm hoping to be able to share some of that with this video and some of the things that we've been planting and doing in the garden. Also, I need to put in some hostas today, so I may bring you along as the muffins are baking. So today we are making blueberry muffins, and this is my favorite blueberry muffin recipe. It's really got lots of flavor and easy to make and very moist. So what we're going to do first is we're going to make the streusel topping. And for the streusel topping, we are going to use a half a cup of flour, a fourth of a cup of brown sugar, a fourth of a cup of white sugar, a fourth of a cup of oats, or you can add a little more if you want. I'm adding just a little bit more. And then we're going to add some salt and a fourth a teaspoon of the salt. That's a half teaspoon, so I'll just do half of that. I'm going to add slivered almonds. I think they taste really good with it, but you could use any kind of nuts you want. We're also going to be adding a fourth of a cup of melted butter. And I forgot to get my cinnamon, so I'm going to go get some cinnamon. I tell you, no matter how many times I look over my table, I always forget something, so I'll be right back. Okay, I got my cinnamon. We're going to need, and I got my cinnamon all over me, we are going to need 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, and you can adjust this to whether you like cinnamon or not. You don't even have to add it if you do not like cinnamon. We like cinnamon, and 2 teaspoons is good for us. And then we're just going to mix this together. That butter is going to soak up into the sugars and into the flour. And it's just going to make a nice streusel crumb topping. Now, if you find that it's too dry, you can always add just a little bit more melted butter. I think mine's going to be good. Get that butter mixed around. Yep, that looks good. So I'm going to set this aside. And I'm going to get another bowl so we can make our muffins. All right, so for the muffins, I also got my cinnamon cleaned up too. For the muffins, we are going to start off with our oven heating at 400 degrees. So we want to preheat the oven, and that's pretty hot. And this is for your regular size muffins. Now, you would probably lower the temperature if you are making minis. And I would say for the large ones, if you made the big muffins, probably 400 degrees would be fine for those too. So we're going to start with creaming together the butter and the sugar. So we need a stick of softened or room temperature butter, and that would be a half a cup. And we'll see if this is soft enough. Now, you could certainly do this in a mixer, but one thing with muffins, you don't want to over mix them. So let me just take a wooden spoon. That's pretty soft. And we're going to add to our half a cup of butter 1 1/4 cups of sugar. So we're going to do that. So 1 1/4 cup of regular white sugar. Now this is the part that I would like to have a mixer for, and you can use a hand mixer too, but we'll get it mixed. I don't know if you can hear the birds singing, but they have just been singing for the last several weeks. It's so nice to go out in the yard and hear them singing. For Mother's Day, I got an early Mother's Day gift, and the boys and Andy gave me the gourd type Martin house that has 4 gourds on it, and they installed that. We might have gotten it up a little late. We have seen a Martin visiting it, checking it out. So we're hoping that the martins will move in this year. We'll keep an eye on it and see. We do have lots of sparrows and they do like to get into the martin houses, so we'll try to keep them out so that the martins can move in. We have a lot of swallows that come, and last year they were pretty angry at us because Andy had closed up his big shed across from the house here so that they couldn't get in. They love to go in there and build nests in the rafters. And that's where he keeps, his tractor, and we keep our lawnmower and just big stuff that just needs to be out of the way. I think he parks his truck in there too. And so they couldn't get in there. And they were all mad because they were trying to figure out a way to get back in there. And they couldn't. So they started building their nests in the peaks on our house. Of course, they can get into the barn still, and we have another shed over with the lambs in it that they can get into. But for some reason, they just really got used to that shed. And so hopefully this year they're okay with not having that shed for their home again. But they're really pretty, and they're really good at keeping insects and stuff out of the area too. Now, they do like to dive bomb our cat, and it's pretty funny to watch them. Okay, so I've got that nicely creamed up, and it's not going to be super soft unless your butter was a lot more soft, but it is all blended in nicely. Now we're going to add our eggs to this, and we're going to take 2 eggs, and we're going to get this nice and smooth now. And I'm going to see if I can use my whisk here. I have kind of a stouter whisk. I also have the other whisk I have for doughs, but this isn't really a dough. This is an egg and sugar mixture with butter. Yeah, this is working. And we're just going to kind of give that a nice whipping. And I thought I'd use these clear bowls, that way you could kind of see what it looks like inside. And we're pretty smooth. So let me show you what I've got here. Just like that. Okay. Now we're going to mix in sour cream and vanilla. We need, let's see, make sure I tell you right. We need 1 cup of sour cream. That's thick. And we need a teaspoon of vanilla. Now, I'm also going to use some almond because we're using the almond in the streusel. So I'm going to go, I usually go just a little bit more vanilla too, but I'm going to add about a 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of almond flavoring. And we're going to mix that together. Now, blueberry season up here, and we're in northeast Missouri, is usually in June and toward the middle end of June. We do have a blueberry patch not too far from us that we can go and get fresh blueberries from. We also like to purchase large quantities from our Mennonite store. They get blueberries from Michigan, usually in the middle of July, early July to middle of July. And they have them in boxes, I believe, 10-pound boxes. And we get several of those. We wash them. We put them in baggies and we eat on them all the time for breakfast. We cook with them. We can certain things, pie fillings and stuff with them. So we really like our blueberries, and they're really good for you too. but our supply in our freezer is just about done. So it's getting just a couple of months. I think we can make it with what we have. So let's see, we've got our eggs, our sugar, our butter, our sour cream, our flavorings. Now we need to combine our flour, soda, salt, and baking powder. And we're just going to mix those together in here. So I've already got in here 2 cups of flour. And I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of baking powder. I'm going to add 1/2 of a teaspoon of baking soda. I'm also doing my laundry back there, so you might hear it in the spin cycle. And 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. I'm trying to get several things done today. Yesterday I had to run to Quincy and do a few errands, so now I'm just getting everything done. There's our salt. So I believe we have everything there. Baking powder, baking soda, salt, and flour. Yep. And we're going to mix those together. Let me grab my another whisk. We have had a great crop of asparagus this year. I need to go out and pick some more. We've just picked and picked and picked, and we've had the refrigerator full. We've been eating it every night. I sometimes even eat it in the morning with my eggs and at night. And so lots of asparagus. It's really good. We don't like to freeze it. We don't like the flavor or the texture of it when it's frozen. We don't like to can it either. So we only eat it fresh. And so we try to get as much as we can and enjoy it as much as we can, but there's a lot there. So it's starting to bolt. So I'll go out there in a little bit and pick out the ones that still are good and put them in the refrigerator too. I had in the past cut the stems off and put them in water and kept them in like a crock in the refrigerator, but it takes up a lot of room. So now I'm just cutting off the stems, putting them nice and straight in a big gallon Ziploc bag or several of them, and putting a paper towel in there to absorb the extra water. And that way it also keeps them moist, and that's working really good. And we just like to put a little bit of water in a pan and put a little salt in that water, not much, and then just put our asparagus inside that or on that water, and it doesn't cover them. It's just in there, and then put the lid on it, and it steams, and it doesn't take very long to cook, and you really got to wash it. Otherwise you get the mushy asparagus. We like just the nice tender before it gets mushy asparagus. So we've been cooking a lot that way, and we're really enjoying it. I'll probably start being a little greener here soon. I asked my husband, I said, is there anything that you can develop by eating too much asparagus? And he didn't think so, but we'll have to look into it. If you know, share it with us. So we've got our flour mixture all mixed up, and that is just to make sure everything's incorporated. And now we're going to add it with our wet mixture, and I'm going to use a spatula for this. And on this part, you don't want to overmix, and if there's a few lumps in there, it's okay. So we're just going to pour this in here like that, and we're just going to kind of fold it over. Just like that. Now I am using frozen blueberries today, and I've had them out for about 10 minutes in this measuring cup here. If you let them thaw, that's fine. It's just going to make your batter completely purple. If you use fresh blueberries, that's not a problem. But frozen ones, there's a fine line between how frozen you want to put them in, because they are going to take longer to cook when they're frozen. And so you'll, even though I said, or I don't know if I've said it, but this is supposed to take about 20 minutes. But since my blueberries are frozen, I can see it taking a little bit longer. Okay, so I've just continued to just fold over, and there is my batter, and it's still a little lumpy, and it's okay. Now we're gonna add the 2 cups of blueberries. And these blueberries we got, and they were a little smaller, but they are really good. They're not the wild ones, because I know the wild ones are really good too. But this is a variety, I guess, that's just a little smaller berry, but packed full of flavor. So I'm very carefully folding this because, as you can see, it is wanting to turn purple. Okay, I think I'm gonna stop right there. And we're gonna get a scoop. I have my muffin pan lined with muffin papers. And you could also spray your muffin pan really good and not use the papers, but I really like to use the papers. So let me get my ice cream scoop, and we're gonna use that to scoop it out. Okay, so we're just gonna scoop, and you wanna fill up your muffin tins about 2/3 full. And since I have the paper, it goes a little higher, and that'll be good. Seems to be with this size scoop. This is not a real big ice cream scoop. It is doing just about right with 1 scoop. And if they're about the same size, that's good because they'll cook at the same rate. And I think I'm gonna have extra batter, so I've got another muffin tin that I can put papers into, because this is gonna make quite a bit. Those 2 cups of blueberries add a lot. They smell good, and I did sample the blueberries quite a bit earlier. They were very good. Okay, that's looking pretty good there. I'm going to set these aside, get my other pan, and I think we'll get 4 or 5 of them, I think. So I will just put these in, and however many we need to do, we'll do. The paper liners really help with cleanup and also from not sticking to your pan, so I really like the paper liners. Every once in a while I don't have any on hand and I have to do just oil it and put a little flour on it, and that works too, but just a little more effort, and then you've got more to clean. It looks like we're having about 6 extras. So this is going to make about 18 muffins. I could not remember. I haven't made this for a year or so. And so I could not remember how many this batch made. We tend to have muffins more in the evening than for breakfast. Or even for like a little snack or dessert. Okay, we're going to get just exactly 7 additional. So I would say 19. Okay, so next we're going to do is we're going to get our streusel on. And I did make plenty of streusel, so we'll have plenty for all of them. Now, if there's somebody that doesn't like the streusel, just leave it off. You don't need the streusel. And so I'm just going to use my hands And I'm just going to use a nice little, I'd say it's about a tablespoon on each one. You can add as much as you like. Now, if you have more streusel than you can use, you just put it in a Ziploc bag and stick it in your freezer, and you'll have it for any time you need a streusel topping on anything you're making. It's very handy to have in the freezer. I'm just making sure they all have plenty. We like that streusel topping. All right, I think these are ready to go in. Remember, our oven is set for 400 degrees. It is already preheated. We're going to be watching these and checking them. Again, the recipe says for 20 minutes, but because our blueberries are frozen, it may take a little bit longer. And everybody's oven is different. You know, I think I can get all of this on here, so we'll have lots of streusel. Okay, there we go. Into the oven. I'll bring you back when they're done. All right, they look done. When you touch the middle, it should spring back up, and that means they are done. I'm going to let them cool a little bit. And they look really good. I'm going to let them cool a little bit, and then we'll taste them and see if they're any good. While they are cooling, I'm going to run out and I'm going to hang my laundry and pick some asparagus. And then maybe I'll bring you guys outside and we'll walk around in the yard here in a minute. So I'll be right back. Okay, I am back. Back up here a little bit. There are the asparagus that I picked, probably another 2 gallons of. And then our muffins have cooled down, just warm. So we're going to give one of these a try. Now you could, if you wanted to make them even prettier, is you could do a glaze on top, just to mix up powdered sugar and milk and just drizzle it on top. That would be really pretty and it would taste good. But for us, there's enough sugar on it already. So let me just pick one right here and let's give this a try. So here it is. Let me pull the paper back. And at first, when you get your muffins out of the oven, the paper won't come off very easily, but once they have cooled down, it will come off just fine. This one did a good job of coming off, but they're still warm. All right, let's see if I can do this without making a mess of everything. Really good, really good. Lots of blueberries, lots of good flavor, moist. This is a good blueberry muffin recipe, so you need to give it a try. I hope you like this video. What we're going to do now is I think I'm going to take you for a walk outside and also show you some videos that we had made over the weekend and show you what's going on in the yard. So come along with me. And look at the snowball. Isn't that pretty? We're gonna have to give this one a good cutting back this summer after the blooms are off.
and it'll grow back quickly, I'm sure, but it is just huge, and I just love snowballs. Just love them. Just so thick. They don't have a scent, which is great because sometimes scented things are a little bit overpowering when they bloom this much, but we have some shrubs that have a really strong scent, and they smell really good, but sometimes they can be almost overwhelming when you're close to them. But that one's doing great. Okay, so here we are at the garden. We've got some loads of dirt coming today. And I'm looking here. And this right here is just all coming up from the seeds from last year, or the parsley is biannual, so it may just be the old plants coming up again, and they will bloom this year and then seed. I do see some in here that look like it probably have a rabbit in here nibbling, because there are some stems without leaves. There's also some cilantro in here, a little bit over there, that's just self-seeded, but I've also put in some seed of basil and cilantro here, so that's going to be doing fine. Our lettuce, if you remembered, we planted that not too long ago. It is just coming up really well, doing great. We'll be eating that anytime now. And then our carrots and our bunching onions, they have been struggling. We've only seen a few carrots, and we've only seen very few onions. And I don't know if it was just so dry after we planted, and we don't water. If it doesn't come up, we'll just plant something else. But there's lots of wild dill, or not wild, but self-seeding dill in there. But we'll see what happens. And I wasn't going to plant any cabbage, but I just picked up a couple cabbage plants. We'll see. Usually we get them in a lot earlier, and I just put a pack of 4 in. They should do okay because we have a tree right here above us that gives them some shade to keep them a little cooler. But our corn looks great. This is the first corn that we planted, and it is all doing so nicely. It's got good color. I don't know what the color looks like in the camera lens though. And our garlic looks good. We're gonna have strawberries before too long. I see lots of green ones down there. Still blooming too. They're gonna be putting on a lot this year. That'll be nice to have. Our spinach is ready to pick. We've got some to pick. I'll be freezing it like I've done in the past, where I just blanch it and then I roll it into balls, squeeze out as much moisture as I can, freeze it in a muffin tin, and then put the frozen spinach balls into a big plastic bag and put them in the freezer. And that helps us be able to get a small amount out when we need it. Let's see, Andy planted something here. Might have been lima beans. We're trying lima beans for the first time this year. I think he did plant some lima beans here. Then we've got our peppers, and we were gonna go fewer peppers this year. But when you buy them, they come in 4 packs, and it's cheaper to buy 4 than it is to buy 1. And even though the 1 is bigger, really, the other 4 will grow just as fast once you get them in the dirt. So to get all the kinds that I wanted, we had to buy quite a few. So we've got several in here, and Andy had weeded this before he planted, and so you see some dead material there, some dead weeds, and he just left them there and just to give them some nutrients. And then here's the rest of them here. So hadn't planned on putting that many peppers out, but we got them. I don't know if you remember, we had so many last year, but we've been going through them still. So we're doing pretty good on our peppers. I think I've just about used up all my strips and chopped ones though. So there's this bed. Let's go over to this bed. You can hear the sheep. I think they think it's dinner time. They heard Andy's voice, I think. So our onions are doing great. I need to come out and start taking some green onions. We plant them close together so that we can pick them and use them all season. But they are looking really nice. He's got several different varieties. I forgot all the ones that he has, but several different. He just planted tomatoes this weekend, and I'll insert a video right here that shows how he planted them. So here Andy is planting our tomatoes. This is the first week of May. So he is just using the hoe handle. I think he's got some markings on it so that he can distance all of the tomatoes the same distance apart. And so he's just making spots where he's going to be putting the holes. So we'll just take the tomato plant out. Looks like there's one that wasn't a good one. I guess I didn't pick out a good pack. And he just cuts off the bottom leaves because we're going to be planting it deep in the dirt. Anywhere along that stem that's planted, roots will develop, and that will give it just that much more strength and that much more energy to bring in extra nutrients and water from the soil. So he will bury that all the way up to those leaves that he had left and just pack the soil gently around it. And there we have a tomato planted, and you can see he's got several right there. He's just pulled a string across, and it's actually hay bale string, and just marked his spot so he could have a straight line there. And so he's going to continue doing that with these as well. So here's another one. And you want to get a nice size hole. And then remove those bottom leaves. And our soil again is really nutrient rich with all the compost material and working it and building it up all of these years. So these tomatoes always do really good in our garden. Okay, and so that's how we plant our tomatoes. He'll be putting cages on them, and they'll get really, really big. And then here's another row of, a couple rows of tomatoes too. And there are the martins that came. One right there. I saw another one when I was hanging laundry and picking asparagus earlier. So I think we're going to have some nesting in those this year, so I'm excited. And there's a sparrow, but they've been chitter-chattering, so I think the martin is telling him to go away. So I think we also have our second planting of corn right down here. I believe right here is our second planting, and then I believe this may be beans. Andy put in green beans, and I think he put potatoes there. But we have one spot left for another set of corn. I still need to plant some zucchini. I don't think I'll do any cucumbers this year. We've still got plenty of pickles and relish from last year. So I've got a couple odds and ends things, but nothing that needs a lot of space. Oh, sweet potatoes. I tell you, my sweet potatoes are taking so long to sprout this year. They have been sitting in jars in the window for a couple of months now, and they've finally gotten some roots, and some sprouts on them, but they're going to be a little late getting into the garden. That's okay. They don't like the cool nights, so we'll be fine, and they do grow really well, so I'll be able to put some out, I hope. I hope that they continue growing well. So, gooseberry bush right there, we're going to have to move that. Oh, and I've also, here is the petunia. This is self-seeding with petunias. It had wave petunias in it. I planted probably 3 or 4 years ago, and now every year it just self-seeds, and they are really pretty. They just we don't do anything to them, no extra water. So we have our sunflower seeds on the back row, and then zinnias and a few cosmos in the front here. So we'll have a little flower garden right here. But everything's looking good. And Andy's over there getting grass clippings and straw and hay and mulching the garden. So once he gets it mulched, it's a lot easier to take care of. The mulching is a pretty big job, but he does a good job at it. And that's my horseradish plant right there. I got a horseradish root last year and stuck it in I guess it's a mineral bucket for cattle, and it has just gone to town. I didn't think it would survive, but it did. Now, I have never grown horseradish before, but last year I just happened upon some roots that were really cheap, and I just kept one and gave one to my dad and stuck it in this mineral pot and haven't done anything to it. It looks like it's doing well, so I'll try harvesting some roots at the end of the garden season. Raspberries. Looks like we got lots of raspberry blooms this year. And I've got 2 different kinds in here. One is a lighter pink and one's a dark purple. We had a great crop last year. Probably have another one this year unless it dries up or something. And our peonies full of blooms. This is my tarragon plant. I should just call it the tarragon bush. And it is huge. Planted this probably 20 years ago. Don't do anything to it. It dies back every year and comes right back up. And so plenty of tarragon on hand. It's a pretty plant. It stays nice looking all year. Got a gooseberry bush there too. So coming to the back part of the house here, we have lots of peonies, and they're going to be really pretty soon. I've got my sage, and it's just got tons of blooms on it. Chives are blooming. I put in a parsley and a basil plant or 2 there. And there is the other pot of sage, and it just overwintered. And looks really good. It's going to be so pretty. I'll be sure to take pictures of it when it blooms. Up here, I have I need to water. I'll be watering here in a little bit. So I have just put cannas, a yellow canna, into these big pots. And then these are all self-seeded. There are wave petunias from last year. I just thought I won't have to buy them. I'll just let them come up. Those have self-seeded, tons of them in there. Of course, it's overcrowded, but they'll grow the ones that make it, and the others will just die off. Same thing over here, petunias, and then the canna, and then another pot of petunias that have self-seeded. They get really showy, and so I enjoy them. This one has self-seeded salvia, the blue salvia, so I'll just let that grow. There's a few petunias in there too. We have some more of our sage, and this one's starting to bloom a little bit more. You can see the pretty purple flowers, and I tell you, hummingbirds love them, bees love them. They are great food sources for your pollinators. And look at that pretty chive pot right there. Isn't that pretty? And that's just overwintered in the pot right here on the back porch, just like the others. Come up every year. So pretty. Our crepe myrtle, it dies back every year, and it's coming out, and it'll be a huge bush, and it'll be really pretty in the late summer with bright pink conical shaped flowers. Just really attractive, and again, pollinators, butterflies, everything likes that. Here's the pots that I planted with the wave petunias earlier. So for those of you who are new to planting plants in a basket or a pot at home, I don't use any store-bought soil. Now, if you live in the city and you need to have store-bought soil, that's fine. Here where we live, we have all of our compost. We also have really nice, rich dirt. And so I just get a nice mix of that, add a little bit of fertilizer, and just some time-released fertilizer for flowers. And I just put these petunias right into that pot. Now, these are wave petunias, which are really nice trailing petunias that get really big. You don't have to deadhead them, but I do find that they start looking kind of shaggy in the middle of summer, and I'll just chop them back, and they just come back even better than before. Now, these you can tell are pretty root bound, so I'm pretty aggressive with the plants, and I bust them up pretty good and put them in the soil. I also take the top part off of the soil a little bit, because that's where it's kind of squared, and I just kind of flatten those corners at the top so that they don't just stick out of the soil. So let's see if I can get a better shot here. So on this one right here, again, I stick my finger there and I just kind of pull those roots and loosen them up. And right there, I just start breaking down that top part of the soil just to kind of let it even out at the top and not be wicking any more dryness and stuff there. And I'm just going to put 3 in each planter. You could probably put 1 and it would fill it up. But if in case one of them dies or something, I'll still have 2 of them in there. So I'll just get both of these filled with 3 petunias per pot, and they'll be ready to hang. And there's a type of I think it's a type of 9-bark. It's kind of a bronze color. Makes a pretty corner bush there. It's the big branches. We've got our hydrangeas here. That's a light pink one. This one is a pretty white one. Here are some that I potted up just earlier. This will have the verbena and sage and snapdragons in it. Same here, just a different colored verbena. Got some more peonies, lots of mint. I need to get in and straighten this one up again. I weeded it earlier, but the mint's going to take over, which is fine. That's why I planted it here. I figured I can put maybe some peonies or something big that will be fine in it. We had cut back the Weigelia last year, but it's blooming really pretty. It's usually a bigger bush than this, but it's getting old and kind of woody. So we cut it back pretty drastically. But Weigelia have such pretty flowers. I really like them. And just a whole branch full of the blooms. And there's a big hosta that was here when we moved in, but we just come in and dig parts of it up and replant it, and it's just keeps growing. Our spirea up here are really pretty right now. And we'll trim these bushes up after they finish blooming, otherwise they just kind of take over. Here is the fenced area that we made last year. And for some reason, we've got lots of wasps in here. I know they like some of these, the nectar on some of these flowers, but I'm thinking that they're probably finding a spot to build their nest somewhere. And I still need to get in and clean up a little bit in here. But this is all like a black-eyed Susan type flower. I can't think for sure what the name is. This is all Sweet Williams. We've got those ferns in there, the honeysuckle. There's some irises back in here, some lilies, more lilies. I've got to cut out a red bud, but I've got to figure out where these wasps are coming from. Just too many of them back here, and there's a big old bumblebee there. But I'll get in here and get the hose out. We've got the hose in here to keep the dogs from chewing it. Well, the dog from chewing it. And get that put away and clean off the walkway there. So got that. This is a limelight hydrangea right here. I put in my impatiens right here. This is a start that I got off of our other hydrangea last year and put it here, so it's growing really well, and it bloomed last year. Here's an old hydrangea that came actually from my mom and dad's place, so they gave me a start when we moved in, and this has been really pretty, and I've enjoyed having it here. And so there's all of that. I trimmed back the willow tree so it's not quite touching the ground anymore. Get the lawnmower under there a little better. Red buds are finished blooming. And I wanted to bring you over here to see how many cherries we have on our cherry tree. So it is just loaded this year again. And if we get plenty of water, they'll be nice and juicy and big. But again, we've had a great spring for all of our flowering and fruiting trees. I think all of our fruit trees have survived any frost, so we are doing really good. But there's just a ton of cherries on these trees. It goes way up to the top. I want to bring you over here to where I have my wisteria vine on the fence here too. It's got lots of buds. It's going to be really pretty in no time. And if you don't know what a wisteria is, it's just this beautiful, fragrant, purple flower that's like a cluster of grapes in the shape. And they smell so good. But it is filling this fence line, and it will be so pretty in a couple of weeks. So this year I'm going to have to redo this foundation planting right here, because when I came out this spring and was pulling back all the leaves and stuff, I noticed lots of holes, and those holes were tunnels that were going down to my hosta bulbs, and basically whatever it was, probably a vole or something, went through and ate all of my bulbs of hostas, or all the roots, whatever they call those portions of the hosta. And I have one little piece here, one there, and then I have a couple right here underneath there. They didn't touch the ferns, which is probably just something that they didn't like. So what I'm going to do is replant hostas in here. And I was at Quincy yesterday and was able to stop at Lowe's and Home Depot and Menards and pick up some new hostas. I also picked up a few bushes, but these are going to go somewhere else. This place right here is by the front door. It is shady, but it's right next to the sun. It gets really hot at the front door, but it will get some partial sun right through here, and then it'll get full sun right over here in the afternoons. So I'm going to make sure we have hostas going throughout. And since they're not going to do too much this year, I've already put some impatiens over here where it's going to be shady. And I just got the rooster sitting there for right now. I don't know what I'm going to do with him yet. I've got my flag there, just haven't done anything with it. I do have some, I think that's a vinca, a vine. I think it just started because I had a plant that had one in it. I do have my begonia here, and oh, what's this called? I'll put it on the screen. But I've got it hanging here. I know what that is. It just can't come to me. And Andy put a stake so that it would give support since this is very heavy. And so that's doing well. And back here, I had transplanted this azalea from another spot where it just wasn't doing very good. And these ferns came with it. But there it is. We've got some blooms on it. I will probably end up deciding whether to move the azalea or the ferns, one or the other. These usually don't look that great in the summertime. They're usually more spring, unless there's lots of rain and it's cooler. But they're really showy right now. And they're perennial. They come back every year. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get planting these hostas and put them out. I've got several different kinds. Let's see what I got. This first one here, it is First Frost. And it's just got kind of a yellowish edge around it. Then this one here is, let's see what kind that one is. It's called Blue Angel, and this is the largest hosta. And this one can grow up to 3 to 4 feet. So this one will probably go back over here, so it's not right in the middle, or either on this end. I don't know yet. We'll see. This one here is Halcyon maybe. I'm not sure. Plantain lily. It is kind of a bluish colored leaf. It's a little more pointy. This is kind of a lime colored one, Fire Island. This one is the dark green and the lime green edges. Diana Remembered. I think this one is a cup one. Yeah, a drink, if I can say it. Abiqua Drinking Gourd Hosta. So it's going to be kind of cup-shaped where it'll actually hold water in its leaves. And one more. This one's called Maui Buttercups Hosta, and it's a lighter green than even this other one. So those should be pretty here, I think. So I am just going to get those stuck in the ground. They're not hard to plant. You just stick them in, and then I'll water them in. Now, if you're new to my channel, you might be wondering why we have this string right here. Well, this is electric wire that we had to have on last summer, just at the beginning, so that we would train our dog not to get up in here. If you don't know, we have a dog that's just about 1.5 years old now, but he loves to dig. And so wherever there's soil, he will dig. And so he was getting into our garden here in the front because they like to sit by the door. And he was digging and killing our plants. So we just put this wire up to get him to stay out. And this should be coming out this year because we are planning on doing a project up here. And I'm not going to talk about it yet because I'm not sure when we're going to get it started. It may be very soon, but we have lots going on right now with family. And so we're kind of, sometimes our weekends are booked. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and decide where I want these hostas and get them planted. And again, hopefully we'll get this out of here soon. so I think I've got it all planted up, and I think it'll look good. And right here, I've just got my hydrangea sitting here out of the sun. But again, my begonia, the ferns, some impatiens just right here in the shadiest part. And then all of the hostas, I kind of alternated the light bright green and the dark green or bluish colors, just to kind of even that out. Then I purchased at, was it Lowe's? I think Lowe's had, or maybe it was Lowe's. Lowe's had 50% off on some damaged plants, and this was a 6-pack, and it just had a few damages on the exterior leaves of a couple of them, but the inside of the plant, the interior leaves looked good, and I think it'll just come out of it. But regardless, if those don't make it for the price that I paid for the ones that will, it was a really good price. So I put those, these are sun impatiens. They need the sun, and this will get sun out here in the afternoon this summer, and it'll get pretty hot too. And then I had some verbena here, and that was a clearance plant too that was, I guess they thought it was damaged, but it's not. I'll just trim the old flowers off and it'll come right back. And I'm trying to think of the name of this. It's usually white that hangs out of like geranium pots, and it's just really, it's a vigorous grower, but this is the blue. I haven't had as much luck with the blue, but I thought I'd try it again. It may have just been where I had it planted, but I'm hoping that these two will kind of fill in this area that gets pretty hot in the summertime. Then I have my geranium with some, and I can't think of the name of this vine that hangs over. There's a couple more in the back, and so that's there. And so I think I've got this pretty much set up, and again, I can't wait to get rid of those wires. And I've got to find a place for my rooster still, so, but that's a start.
Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed spending the day with me making blueberry muffins, walking around the yard, checking out the garden, and planting a few hostas. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my video. I would really appreciate that. Also, don't forget to like and share, and I hope to see you back here soon. Thanks for watching.